Hello, all you unworthy charlatans out there, you people. Haha. Calling you out right off the bat. Yes, you didn't think I'd figure it out, did you? Well, I know what you've been up to. Oh, I've seen. I've seen. Hey, don't look round, but I've got a camera feed directly to whatever it is that you were doing 10 minutes ago. And, you know what? You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. Anyway, hey, but we're not just here to shame you. I mean, we're partially. That's a part of it. That's, hey, look, check it. Hey, feel a little bit better. Hey, little bit, maybe, perhaps. Um, and also, we're going to play the theme song, which you're going to hear right now.
This has always been the theme song. This has always been the theme. This has always been the theme song. This has always been the theme.
Ah, yes, the cha at the end gives us all such hope, such hopefulness, such hope-a-rama lama ding dong. Anyway, hey, look, it's me, Rem Pemberton. This is Riff and Craft with Rem Pemberton of the Clemson Pembertons. I am your host. I am the person whose voice you will be hearing while I riff and while I craft. Both of the things. The things that I do some light riffing, I do some crafting. Oh, BT Dubs, if you are looking at my, yeah, if you're looking at my experience points and you're like, hey, I thought you were playing this one for a while. Yeah, had been. Was up to decent, solid level. And then Freeper, like I was exploring, there's a ravine with with an abandoned mine in it, and I was exploring it, and a creeper came up from behind me and killed me, like exploded me into lava. That was one thing. I think I've died several times recently because I also had my game like. Because you can't pause an online game, mother. Anyway, and so I was, I was playing and, came over and hid myself out in one of these, just standing in an alcove. Actually, I'll tell you exactly how I was. It was mid-mine and I needed to, like, go to the bathroom or something, and I just left for a minute. And because I don't have any armor right now, I was just standing here like this, and nobody was paying attention to what was happening on my screen until my lovely wife was like, "Oh, I tried to save you, but by that point you were already dead." A slime, and not even like a medium-sized slime. Like after you hit the big one and it breaks down into, 2 to 4 smaller slimes, that size is what did me in. Killed me to death, that slime. And so, I'm very happy about that. Ha 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 ha. And when I say happy, I mean no. Not at all happy about that. That's the opposite of how I feel about that particular predicament. Anyway, but we're going to riff and we're going to craft, and it's going to be fine eventually, probably, as far as you know. Anyway, and maybe we'll find some more of this diorite, and we'll have some to help build up our ridiculous tower that we are going to call home. Yes, nothing like a ridiculous tower to call home. That's what I like. Tower home. Anywho's it's. But anyway. Okay. Yeah, I'm building a tower home because, being accused, and justifiably so, of only really building one type of structure. That's the kind with nice squareness. And even if you want to say, like, oh, but you do sometimes build a nice pyramid. Yeah, I build a pyramid, but how does that start off? With a square and then a concentric square? I'm making concentric squares. So, like, really, I'm just making a whole lot of squares when I make a pyramid. It's not even that I'm, approaching the triangular in a three-dimensional way. No, I'm approaching the square in a might as well be two-dimensional way. Anyway, yeah, I can be a bit thick when it comes to creating anything interesting in Minecraft, which is why, you really have to question your sanity. You're watching this channel. What are you doing? Hey? You've got a finite number of days in the sun. You know what I'm saying? Like, our species doesn't live forever. As far as we know, we don't survive our own death. I know there are people who are like, oh, but you will, because either reincarnation or Jesus or something. And to that I say, proof, please. Proof of all the things. Because absent of the kind of proof that I have that the sun came up this morning, which I have proof because if I stare directly into it, it will boil my eyeballs and I'll never be able to see again. That's how blindingly obvious it is that the sun came up. You can tell the freaking difference. And I live rather closer to the sun than a lot of you. And so it's well over 100 degrees outside. And that's well over 40 degrees if you're, someone who uses the metric system and the Celsius, the centigrade. Anyway, regardless, that's where we are. I don't think it's actually 40 degrees. 40 is like, what, 115, something like that? It's probably high 30s where it is right now. Anyway, I don't have the desire to do conversions right now. Call me crazy. I didn't start a YouTube channel to do metric conversions. Anyway, I mean, yes, I do understand that the Celsius makes a lot more sense. Like, water freezes at 0, it boils at 100, and that's, good enough for anyone to figure out. It's pretty simple, Of course, that has to be at sea level, too. Like, you can't be like, oh, water boils at 100, but only if you're, Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Otherwise, it boils a lot sooner. No, that doesn't work. And did you know that? I mean, you should have known that water boils more quickly or slowly depending upon your elevation. That is 100% a thing. It is known, Khaleesi. It is known. Don't go around acting like it's not known, Khaleesi. This is not fitting a woman of your stature. And when I say stature, I mean, of course, your metaphorical stature. You're actually quite short, from the fact that in the books you're like 14. You're like 14, and you're off, like, being publicly fondled by horsemen. Anyway, why, when I was 14, I was being privately fondled by horsemen, because we had an ounce of decency and shame, The good people we were back in those days. Anyway, regardless, I love, like, we've stalled out on the books. We were reading, well, we were actually listening to the audiobooks. I've actually read the first couple Game of Thrones books, And my wife was like, "Oh, this is taking freaking forever. I would like to be able to, see the series at some point in my life." And I was like, I want to read the books first, you know. And so we compromised, and we just, very often we would sit and play Minecraft together and listen to the audiobooks. But we crapped out. We got to the fourth book. Oh, by Lenny Xyz. Anyway, yeah, we talked a lot. Bye, you butt farter. Anyway. So yeah. That's the whole thing. Anyway. Yeah. I forget what I was talking about. Oh, the books. Yeah, we crapped out. Because, like, the first three, it's like, the first one, they introduce you to all the characters that you're going to meet over the next three books, And, like, even characters you don't meet in the first couple of books, they're mentioned, and you're like, oh, he's got a brother. Oh, he's got two brothers. All right. And one of them's a bit nutty. Okay, I gotcha. I understand. And then you don't meet the nutty one until, like, the third book. And a, Scarlet Woman is giving birth to shadow babies and whatnot. Spoilers. I mean, that doesn't really explain anything. You can't even, you'd be just like, what? The what happened now? It's like people trying to explain plot points of Lost when you haven't seen any of the episodes, and you're like, why is there a smoke monster? I thought this was about a plane crash. Anyway, so yeah, the fourth book, Game of Thrones, the green one, Storm of Crows, Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies. I don't know the name of the book. It's been a while since I've picked it up. Anyway, so it starts out, with the sea stone chair and stuff, and a bunch of characters. It's all freaking Theon Greyjoy's people. And you're like, oh, I freaking hate you, Theon Greyjoy, for what you did. You betrayed everyone, you dirty traitor. And I can't freaking believe what you did. I just want to, see you die so I could, take a dump on your grave. Anyway, and of course, freaking George R.R. Martin is like, well, the more you hate a character, the longer they stay alive. The more you like them, you start to really like Ned Stark, and it's like, oh boy, mistake. Hey, I just said, don't give me this spoiler business. I just saved you pain down the road, and not even that far down the road. You don't even need to be that far into the series, the book or the, take care of Ned pretty quick. Anyway, regardless. But yeah, these people who are like vying for the sea stone chair, and you're like, oh, I don't friggin' know about these drowned men and whatnot. You're introducing 57 new characters I don't give a crap about, because they're all related to this idiot I wish was dead, And yeah, we've started that book like 3 times now, and we still can't get into it, And maybe it gets better, hopefully. Oh, frick, there's a torch way out of line over here. Go all the way down and set it aright. I think there was a flood through here or something. For some reason the torch went out, or maybe I killed a slime and it, ruined the whole thing. Anyway, regardless, I'm about keeping things tidy here in my mind. I don't appreciate, things that don't help with that task in particular. Anyway, so Game of Thrones, we done crapped out, and so we've never seen all of the nudies and whatnots in Game of Thrones, which people are like, oh, it's got nudies. But then again, come on. I understand, I wonder if, Like, okay, this is good. Prepare yourselves. Hey, if you're a student, tune this out. But yeah, about a year or so ago, my students started in improv games and whatnot. We'd be playing freeze, and somebody, get in a, bent over or hunched over position, and people would start being like, "Hey, stepsister," and I'm like, "What is this?" And so I checked the internet, but I know my students well enough to not check it at school. Thank you very much. Oh, I'd be fired by now if I was checking out "Hey, stepsister" at school. Anyway, so I found out what it was, and I was like, really, all of North America decided that we're just the thing that we like now is two people who were raised together, or imagining that these two people who didn't meet each other until this afternoon when they were like, "Oh, you're coming to the shoot," and they were just going to do things to each other for a certain number of minutes, and some guy will get uncomfortably close with a camera and just, do what he does, and, and we'll just all act like it's very normal. Anyway, so yeah. They were like, instead of doing that the old way like we used to, just pretend like we're just, any two people who are attracted to each other. We're going to pretend that we're, related by marriage. It's like, how does that make it better? Related by marriage. How does that make it better? And I mean, here's the tie into Game of Thrones is that, like, people will be talking about, like, oh, they got nudies. And it's like, well, I don't want to see a 14-year-old get fondled by a horseman with tallow in his hair, because that's what it says in the book. They, like, keep their braids greasy. Is putting, like, beef tallow. Well, no, not beef, because they eat horse. Like, they ride horse, they eat horse, they, get lonely, they cuddle up to a horse. I don't know. Anyway, regardless, a lot about horses in that particular culture. And anyway, regardless, so I don't need to see a 14-year-old get groped by a horseman. And the other one that I know of for sure is you got the freaking brother-sister team there, which, like, I know that the actor and actress are not actual brother and sister. Thank goodness. I mean, if freaking North America had their way, you never know. Like, seriously, it's ridiculous. People are like, "Oh, were they raised together as siblings?" Because that's what makes it hot. You're like, really? That's what you find exciting and enthralling is, like, two people raised together. Raised together equals sign extra sexy. Like, what is wrong with your brain, America? Like, two people raised together. Like, look, I would tell you the truth. When I was living in Cambodia, I got invited to a wedding. This guy I knew, and I was like, "Oh, cool, he's getting married." Who's he getting married to? Because sometimes weddings would happen very quickly there, because arranged and whatnot. Some families still do arranged marriages. Anyway, and a lot of times engagements are very short because, like, nobody, like, courtship is just weird there. Like, men and women don't have any public display of affection at all. Men and men do. Like, if you're really good friends with a guy, you can hold his hand in public. You know what I'm saying? And same for women. But yeah, and obviously, not a particular lot of rights and social acceptance for homosexual people there, which is a shame, because they've got a fair number of them. Anyway. Regardless, the fact is, people, that engagements were often very short because it wasn't like, oh, we're dating and we're just, we're we're cohabitating. We're gonna find out if we're really compatible. It was a lot of like, well, we're gonna have to get married because this is a thing now, and let's just freaking do it. Because what else are you doing? You know. And so like, yeah, get invited to this wedding, and I'm like, cool. Who's he getting married to? And then they said the name of the girl, and I was like, that's his sister's name. And they're like, well, she's not really his sister. I'm like, how you mean not really? Like, they were like, well, she's kind of an extended family through marriage or something, and they were raised together as brother and sister, but they're not blood related. And it was, my immediate reaction was not like, ooh, I want to see video of that. Like, it was not. It was very much like, no thank you. No thank you. I'm not even sure I want to go to the wedding. I don't know if I want people to think I support such things. Because, in America, we've given that concept rather a bad name, and we make fun of entire states for it, Alabama, for instance. Yes. Anyway, so, yeah. Not a big supporter of incestuous relationships, let it be known. Spread the word hither and yon, far and wide. Let all the, let everybody understand that, like, this guy who's got two thumbs and is not interested in incestuous relations, this guy. Like, yeah, I don't know how in the frick America decided that they were like, hey, this would be a thing, and like, because I get the feeling that it was at first they were like, that's ridiculous, and then they were like, oh, hang on a minute, hold up, I got my daughter is in the room, I gotta pause for a sec. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know how they all decided that was a thing, but put me down as someone who a hard no, is a pass, guess again, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Like I don't know, what do you need to hear? Anyway. Anyway, people, that's the thing. I don't even remember why I got into that. Oh, I was talking about Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones. Throne of Games. Because, yeah, like, people all the time be like, oh, Game of Thrones, it's got nudies in it. And it's like, yeah, but all the characters are either underage or related, like at least the ones in the books that are like, or there's the whole business with the Tyrion Lannister, who's a wee man. He's a little person. And I mean, we're all quite fond of the actor who plays him. I've seen him in various things. Blanking on his name right now. Just thinking about Tyrion Lannister. Anyway, regardless, that guy, devilishly handsome for someone of his particular stature and, situation and whatnots. Anyway, I was trying to say it with as great tact as I probably can, and I'm probably sounding rather tactless and feckless, if I'm being perfectly honest. Anyway, so, yeah, you got your Tyrion Lannister, who, is taken up with, a strumpet, a lady of the evening, if you will. Anyway, and he's rather taken with her, and she's like, not entirely, does not entirely find him grotesque. So, so they do some business together, and yeah. So if that's your choice, you could be like, well, you could watch a dwarf with a strumpet, or you can watch two siblings who, like it states many times in the book how similar they look to each other, which, like, oh boy, I don't even want to, no thank you. Like, that's the kind of stuff where you just, like, what's the soundtrack to that? A banjo? Like, I don't care that it's set in a fantasy mystery land. Like, you get around to that kind of business. Banjo starts playing. We all know it. Anyway, so I think what we've learned today is that I'm a hard pass on that kind of nonsense. Thank you very much. And you know what? I think I'm right. The people all the time be like, oh, don't go in for kink shaming and whatnot. But you know whose kink we shame quite a bit. And I'm no exception to the shaming of this particular kink is, adults who find underage persons particularly attractive. Yeah, we are not okay with that at all. Like, we have no level of us is like, oh, but you don't want to kink shame people. It's like, you're sick, get help. What you like is not acceptable at all. The hard no. And if we catch you doing it, it'll be, 25 years to life. So don't even think about it is our approach to that. So, yes, we as a society have engaged in a certain level of kink shaming. And I think that it's ridiculous that we make such fun of Alabama, which, they know where they live. So they can feel about it however they want. But, yeah, we make such fun of Alabama. And then yet, like, what's the one thing that everybody's referencing right now, which means that, like, they have seen it. They have seen the item in question, so that you're not just being like, hey, stepsister, if you don't know what that means. Anyway, regardless. But we put a stop to it in my drama class, got people to stop saying that. Which that was fun and awkward because then they were like, well, how do you know? And I'm like, because you morons, I had to look it up because you thought it was like, there's a way that teenagers laugh when they think that they pulled one over on you. And sometimes they legitimately have. Like, the number of times that I've been, like, half hour deep into Urban Dictionary going like, oh, should I be concerned or should I not? Multiple definitions, this one. Anyway, yeah, I do try to stay abreast of such things. By the way, abreast, not a dirty word. You weirdos, you freaking weirdos, just means, standing in a straight horizontal line from the point of view of the observer, anyway, like you're walking abreast. People walk abreast all the time. It's very normal way to walk. You go off hunting or something, you walk abreast so that nobody shoots anyone else in the face. Dick Cheney. Oh, are we ever going to let that man live that down? Nope, I don't think we should, quite frankly. I think that if you are a, president or vice president or a vice president who everybody secretly suspects is actually more powerful than the actual president, as Dick Cheney was, then, if you shoot a man in the face while you're hunting, I think we all get to make fun of you for the rest of always. Because you shot a man in the face. a man who was purportedly your friend, a man who apologized to you after you shot him in the face. It begs so many questions, and we should never stop talking about it. Anyway, that's just one man's opinion. The opinion of one man who, mark this down, does not go in for any incestuous nonsense. Yeah, that's right. I don't. I think it's weird that people do. Anyway, regardless. But yeah, a fun conversation when students are like, how do you know about the thing? You know, and you have to be like, oh, jeez, come on. You know, it's like I used to have a student who every day would be like, hey teacher, hey, this is one of my homeroom students, so I had him all 4 years, and he never got any smarter than this. Hey teacher, can we watch The Hub? And I'd be like, no, we can't. He's like, but The Hub is cool. All the guys in here like The Hub, right? You follow me? You get it? It's like, well, look, even if I didn't know what The Hub was, the way that you are asking me is so insanely creepy. Like, it honestly surprised me that any girl ever was like, yes, I will willingly be seen in public holding this boy's hand. Like, what? Why? How low is your self-esteem? How many daddy issues do you have? Anyway, regardless, yeah, I used to put up with that every day, come in a homeroom and be like, hey, can we watch The Hub? And I'd be like, no, we can't. And also, shut up. Like, don't talk to me. Go sit in the corner and think about what you've done. You know, never sank in. Kid never really realized that, like, perhaps it was a bit inappropriate to suggest such a thing to a teacher, you know? And I think the real problem was that if I had written him up for it and have been like, here, take this to the principal and explain to him what you just said, you know, that might have nipped it in the bud. But, you know, there were so many other knuckleheads and knuckle draggers in that class doing things that were worse. I mean, they used to just break my stuff for fun. Because freshmen, and you can't trust them farther than you can throw them, and you want to chuck them a great distance sometimes. Not all freshmen. Hey, not all freshmen. Not conspicuously enough. The freshmen in my drama club, not a problem. They are not a problem at all. And, you know, I tend to like them rather a lot because it says something about a kid that they intentionally take drama class as very first thing in their high school career, you know? It really says something about a person, you know? And what it says is like, I'm fun, I'm cool in a certain sort of way that only people who are cool in the way that I'm cool is going to think is cool. Like, you know, like there's this certain particular student of mine that everyone has a crush on, and everyone has had a crush on. You know, she's a female type student, I believe, unless I misheard when we were talking about, you know, identity and pronouns and such not. No, actually I didn't. I know because I know which pronouns. Because that was the very first thing when this person was introduced. It was very fun because, like, you know, we were in AB, so, like, you know, half the class hadn't met the other half of the class. But they would see each other's work because we were doing a video. We were making a video instead of a regular play. And anyway, that's what we were doing. And it was fun and interesting. And then what had happened with that is that I would assign different students to do different things if they had the capability to do it at home. And so this student did a thing at home, and when everybody saw it, they were like, "Who is that?" And then, one time that person just happened to be in the chat session for the, because I would, what? Oh my God. I might need to reboot the server. Did you just see that? Like yeah, I think the server's been on for, better part of a month straight and has not been rebooted at all in all that time. And so I think it just might benefit. Anyway. Hold up. Anyway, just letting them know. Eat my baked tater. Oh, that's right. I'm all out of pickaxes. I had pickaxes, and now no more pickaxes. Anyway, let me drop this off to smelt, because he who smelted it mined it. Yeah, I gotta do server maintenance. I mean, I am running this off of an all-in-one PC with an i3, so it's not like it's a tremendously powerful server machine. Oh. Yeah, they's got diamonds. Anyway, let's put our pumpy on seed. Well, actually, I should. Oh, that's rather a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna need to build a bouncy castle at some point, because that's what you do with slime blocks, isn't it? Anyway, no, that's all. Oh, no, this one, what are ye? Anyway, swap ye with ye. Anyway, yeah. So I think I need, to do some sort of, maintenance on my house, which, build it up a little bit. So let's get out our diorite, which I always confuse with andesite. Do some of that. And then I believe it's 4 of thems. Yeah, 4 of thems gets it polished. Boop, boop, boop. Get polished on. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah. Okay, it's just going to continually displace the 24. This is going to move it around my inventory for no frick reason. Thank you very much. Like, I appreciate that you're just randomly moving the 24 blocks the polished diorite around with seemingly no rhyme or reason. Like, why must you be like this? Anyway, okay. Oh, that's right. And I need to get me some of this nonsense. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 9 and a 24 block of that. Hey, 24. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. Now we'll just push that 24 block around for no frick reason. Yeah. Oh, and I suppose I should be cooking this. I suppose I should make myself a clock again, because I lost my last one when I got blown up. Well, I didn't get blown up. I died by fire. Fell into lava. It was the lava that killed me. The explosion, I was fine. I had armor on at the time. So, you know, even though my armor was getting a bit worn, it was still rather fine. Okay, and I'm going to build myself just a simple stone pickaxe, because, you know, you misplace a stone up there when you're working, you need a pickaxe. You do. All right, well, up we go then. Oh. Got more pumpkins than we did afore. Yeah, once they start to grow, they really take off. Oh, I suppose I should get that black sheep. And, you know, start shearing its wool. If I could get 2 black sheep, that'd be lovely. Hey there. There's that. Yeah, no, that's dark gray. That's not black. Because, you know, I've never made black wool. I assume that you would need some sort of... oh, there's a real black sheep over yonder. Looks a bit more black. I'm just thinking about, you know, doing checkerboard floors. Because I'm going to do pumpkin floors, which I enjoy doing. Yeah. That's a real black sheep. You're the real black sheep of the family. Anyway. So, yeah, I never considered how to get black wool before, but I'd imagine ink would do it. Never tried it. It's probably how it's done. But I like to do pumpkin floors and pumpkin ceilings, and then, you know, cover it with wool, and so you never see the pumpkins, or the jack-o'-lanterns, actually. They gotta be jack-o'-lanterns, because they gotta have torches in them, so that you can... I could do red and white, it'd be easy enough, or blue and white, but, you know, keep the black and white theme. Why not? Anyway. But yeah, just make it look like a place that, you know, members of Cheap Trick would live. You know, Rick Nelson living inside. Would that it were so, though. rather enjoy the man and his guitar-based antics. Yeah, it's funny. When I was in college, I studied from a guy, or learned from a guy who was a former student at the guitar conservatory in Hollywood, California. In case you thought it was like Hollywood, Florida, or something. No, the big one, the one that you actually should be impressed by. Anyway, so yeah, he learned. He was a student at the guitar conservatory, and went there with a number of luminaries and whatnot. There we go. And yeah. Anyway, so he and I would talk music all the time because he found out that I knew a thing or two about music. And he was excited to have anyone who knew what the frick he was talking about half the time. Because I was building my record collection, and I was doing it primarily with things from the 60s and 70s was mostly my jam. So and that's right up his alley, because that's what he knows as well. He's older than I was, of course. Anyway, so he was telling me about how when he was a kid, he went, his family was on a road trip, and they were staying in some crappy Motel 6 kind of joint like that, and he'd had about enough of this crappy Motel 6 kind of joint. He's like, I want to see what's happening here in the greater Cleveland, Ohio area. And so he just went out into the night, started wandering around, and he heard music coming from a high school gymnasium, and so he headed that way, paid his entrance fee to get inside, and who was on stage was a young Cheap Trick, Cheap Trick before they really made it, was on stage doing their thing, being Cheap Trick. And he was like, yeah, they rocked pretty hard. They were pretty awesome. It was a good show. I'm like, yeah, you saw Cheap Trick before they were famous. Like, I bet it was good. Like, you see Cheap Trick after they're famous, it's still good. You see Cheap Trick now, and you're not necessarily, it's not like, some guys who lose their fastball and you're like, oh, if I'd only seen them when, they were still good and relevant and whatnot. Like, nope, you cannot say that about Cheap Trick, because, like, a handful of their best albums have been released over the past, just few years. And, now that all the members of the band are in their 60s, and and Rick Nelson's having a real hard time holding up that massive multi-neck friggin' Schecter guitar. It's a Schecter, isn't it? I feel like it's a Schecter. Anyway, could be wrong. I'm not a perfect gearhead. I'm a, moderate gearhead. Anyway, regardless, those of you who are, most of my audience is going to be people who are too young to know who Cheap Trick is, but I guarantee if you hear a song of theirs that which probably, let's be friggin' honest, is going to be I Want You to Want Me. And it's going to be that version from Live at Budokan, because arguably the best version of the song. All that live energy. Anyway, and that's a great album. Just, what? Do yourself a favor. If you have never really spent much time with Cheap Trick, Live at Budokan. Like, just start there. And then go to their, self-titled debut album with the checkerboard cover. Anyway, and enjoy it. Have a good time with it. So, yeah. Cheap Trick, good time. Big fan. Because, like, you know, here's a theory that I have. And you can hate this theory all you want, but it's probably true. It's like my theory that, like, in their respective genres, Randy Travis and Snoop Dogg occupy the same physical space within their genres. I'm not saying that they are the same in every respect. I'm saying that within their genres, Randy Travis and Snoop Doggy Dogg are the same. Because, like, what are they? Well, they're both, like, you know, these smoothly, they've got the smoothest vocals in the game. And what are they known for? Well, they're known for freaking, oh, I can't mix it up with these idiots. I don't have armor. Well, let's find out. Let's find out how long I can last. Sans armor against a jumbling of pillagers. You're gonna let Hatsune Miku with Hatsune Miku with no Hatsune Mikaya Hatsune Mitchum. You're gonna let freaking Max Headroom. Yeah. Okay. Frick. What am I doing? I still won? That doesn't make any sense. You saw me throw my sword in the middle of that fight. Clearly I was outmatched. Outgunned. Anyway. Oh, goodness. I thought I was a goner. Turned out I was an expert crossbowman. Oh, frick frack. Oh, no, I don't have now I have a crossbow. I was like, why didn't I just use my crossbow? And then I remembered, oh, that's right. I died several times. And my crossbow is so long lost now that it's not even worth mentioning. Anyway. Okay. There we go. That's good. That's how we like it. Anyway, sure, yeah. Gray wool, black wool. Anyway, let's do this thing. Let's do this like Buddhists. Oh, yes, I was about to give my theory. And it's a theory that a lot of people are just bound to not like. Okay, I don't know how to either because I'm in the middle of recording a thing. Anyway, back to game. Wait, hold up. Oh, no, we're good. Ooh, 6. Yeah. Anyway. Boop. Badoop. Badoop. There we go. So, my theory. My theory is this. That, and bear in mind, this is my all-time favorite band of ever. So, feel about it however you wish. But just know that I am extremely biased because this band is not only, you know, what they were in the 90s, but they are, you know, the key. So much of my musical taste was formed by getting into this band. caps lock. Anyway, so yes, okay, the band in question, my favorite band of all time that I've seen in concert more than any other band, and I've seen many bands in concert. Weezer, okay? Oh, some of you were like excited, and some of you I don't know. I I'm so far out of Minecraft lore that like I don't even know that there's a bastion. Anyway, regardless. The bastion. Did you know that there's a bastion in Minecraft and that there's ancient debris? Apparently. I mean, assuming. Yeah, must be because. Okay. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that, like, just assume that if I don't know, that it's because I haven't had the interest to find out. Goodness. Yeah, the things that I'm not interested in when it comes to Minecraft, it drives other people crazy. Anyway, regardless, we've added another player. Anyway, so Weezer, yes. Weezer came out, Blue Album 1994. Blew my mind. Haha, pun intended. Blew my mind. Anyway, great album. Loved it. And then, Pinkerton came out, invented the concept of emo before emo was like, a code word for terrible pop punk, Like emo used to be an actual thing, back with like Get Up Kids and Captain Jazz and anything that sounded remotely like Weezer's Pinkerton. So I think you'll find, if you go back and listen to Pinkerton, that like the dinguses with the heavy eyeshadow, that they're not the same at, wait, hold up, oh, alright then. Oh, that's right, because they're in the nether, so they can't sleep. Because night and day means nothing to them. It was like, don't we have 3 players in? Anyway, so, yeah. Okay. And now I know that. So, yeah. When Weezer came out in 1994, it was like, my God, this is what I've been waiting for. Like, this is it, because the funny thing is that, the Blue Album cover, they're all wearing, thrift store clothes. And like, I was just at that time turning from the guy who like wore thrift store clothes because his family was poor and didn't want to buy him other clothes, into the kid who like proudly was like, no, not only am I wearing thrift store clothes, I've gone out of my way to find the worst thrift store clothes, the geekiest, dorkiest, most ill-fitting thrift store clothes I could find, and I'm going to be that kid in your face, So it was just, turning that corner. And anyway, and then I see this album cover of 4 guys who are like exactly that. And I'm like, oh, the music can't possibly, because, album covers lie to you all the time about what's inside. And no, they were legitimately exactly that. And I was like, oh my goodness. Huh. Yeah, I was just trying to wrap my brain around what it could possibly be, and it was fantastic. It was, everything that I had wanted it to be, and then, back in those days, I used to hang out. Oh, dang it! See, that's why I needed a friggin' pick. Anyway, so the old Weezer Rebel Alliance was the thing back in the day. Weezer Rebel Alliance was a web ring, which you young whippersnappers today, you don't even know what a web ring is. Is a like a bunch of websites that would link to each other because they were all working around a common theme. And so, like, and you'd get a, there we go. You would get a web host, a Carl Coach type, or is it Coke? I don't know. It's Koch. I always said Coach, but it's because I never heard it pronounced out loud. Anyway, he is the guy. And this is how you know your Weezer fandom is truly magnificent, is that you know him from the old Weezer Rebel Alliance, which was the web ring, and then oh, there we go. And then he also became the official band historian. Like, he is, he's the guy who like keeps track of, like, oh, what was on Rivers' pedal board in 1996, like, he's that guy. And so and it's funny because when you go to Weezer concerts and you are up close, which I am always, because I camp out, because I'm a fanatic. That's what a fan is, because I actually really, really care about the band. Anyway, so boop-a-doop-a-doo. Anyway, that's why I can speak on this authoritatively. But yeah, I know who Carl is and can identify him at a concert if need be. Because, yeah, he's never been on an album cover or anything, but, like, it's a whole bit. Oh, get ready to see some spamming by my son, who doesn't care about the play experience of others. Anyway, sorry, I shouldn't say passive-aggressive things like that. Anyway, regardless. So, yeah, you know your Carl Coach, you're really up there. Anyway, he was a key figure in the early Weezer Rebel Alliance days, and very important guy that we all cared about, and we were all secretly jealous of. And anyway, he because he got to hang out with the band, and we all wanted to hang out with the band, and we never got to hang out with the band. Anyway, so, I mean, I have met individual members of the band. I've met Scott, and I've met Brian, and, lovely humans, very kind, but also I could tell that my presence was tedious. Because, I am not the person that a rock star wants to meet. I'm very much not. It's fun when you see, like, these gearhead segments on YouTube, and people sitting down with rock stars. They just seem very put upon. They're like, that normally I'm signing breastises and whatnot. Like, now I have to talk to a guy in an ill-fitting tour shirt from 15 years ago who wants to talk to me about like nuanced crap about the band that I don't even think about, you know. Yep, that's what it be like. Anyway, so yeah, here's my theory about Weezer, because I really do roll with them from the way back whens. But like the thing is that their ability, like Weezer played the Warped Tour, and how many like bands of their particular ilk, because there were many bands that tried to out Weezer over the years. They've all fallen by the wayside. And yeah, how many of those bands like have done things like play the Warped Tour? You know, I mean, it's not a thing anymore, but like Warped Tour, you know, used to be a ska punk festival, and then ska died and it just became a punk thing. And Weezer is not a punk band. But when the Green album came out, they were booked on the Warped Tour, and everybody was like, "Yeah, I dig it." So like, you know, punks were into them, and metalheads were into them because you know Rivers quite the metalhead his own self, you know, and you know, basically no matter what style of music you're into, there is some segment of Weezer that appeals to you. And that is the exact space that Cheap Trick occupies in the world of rock type roles. Oh my god. Whoops. I forgot to keep building up my dingus. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, regardless, there we go. Suppose that's one way to do it. Anyway, but yeah, you know, that same thing where it's like anybody can be into Cheap Trick. You know, it's a big tent, you know, because they've made a lot of different styles of music over the years. They're excellent songwriters, and you know, like they know a good hook, a strong melody. They know how to make good songs, and you know, it's to their credit. To their credit, they absolutely can. That's been Cheap Trick's calling card for a long time. And so, you know, now that all of their band members are in their 60s and stuff, you know, they're still putting out good albums. Like, you know, and people aren't even surprised. You know, like I remember when Rockford came out and everybody was like, this is a really good album. And, you know, Cheap Trick fans the world over were like, yeah, because it is. Because this is what they do. And, you know, Weezer, here's the funny thing. I've got 2 Weezer albums sitting on, like, I've got, oh, is no one else going to sleep, I guess? Anyway, so I've got 2 Weezer albums just sitting on top of my CD player waiting to be played. They have not been played only because, okay, I guess I need to leave bed because this isn't happening. Yeah. But, you know, they've meant so much to me over the years. And the funny thing about it is that, like, let's see. You know, many of their albums have come out at times when I really, really needed, you know, something to pick me up. This is true. You know, major transitions in my life. Weezer has been there with a new album, like, right when I need it. you know, and I've always appreciated that about them. I don't think that, like, oh, the universe aligns and, like, no, bullcrap. The universe is not aware of my existence, nor is it providing me with music intentionally. That'd be ridiculous. I don't expect such treatment of a, you know, vast cosmological, you know, structure, I guess you could call the universe. I don't know. What do you call it? How do you classify the entire universe? Big frick space thing that all the space things live in? Anyway, so yeah, they've benefited me so very much over the years, and I've been very pleased to have seen their progress. Now, granted, you know, if you're a Cheap Trick fan, you know that they made an ill-advised and not very good album called The Doctor, which you know, is one of their very few missteps over the years. Weezer has very few missteps of their own, but I think about the time, like, okay, you know, the Teal album was like, you know, that was just them caving into fan pressure, I guess, and weird, like, you know, it was like a Reddit thing or something that somebody was like, "Do Africa by Toto," because this generation doesn't give a crap. They will take something for which there is tremendous goodwill, and they will friggin' bury it. Like, you know, a few years back it was Country Road, you know, Take Me Home, a little John Denver, you know, which is a decent song, you know, and fun song to sing along to. You like, if you haven't heard it in a while, you probably enjoy it more than you remember. It's one of those. And anyway, but yeah, this generation took that song and drove it into the freaking ground. They took all the goodwill for that song and just destroyed it in a very short amount of time, because they're like, yeah, this is kind of our thing. This is what we do. And and it was like, why? And they're like, I don't know. We couldn't think of anything else. Everything else was taken. No, I do not understand it my own self, but they did the same thing with Africa by Toto. Anyway, Pacific Daydream, not a not a great album. Did not enjoy it very much. Quite a misstep in many ways. But yeah, the two that are sitting there, OK Human and Van Weezer, I am assured are excellent. Weezer albums are like, you know, returns to form, so to speak. And yeah, I've come to expect no less in recent years. Like, how many times can they keep coming back and people be like, oh, hey, there we go, they're still doing the thing, and those of us who've been there all along are going like, yeah, that, because that's what they do, you know. And so for anybody for whom Rockford by Cheap Trick came as a surprise, you know, Cheap Trick fans were like, what the frick do you think we've been cheering for all these years? You know. Obviously it makes sense to those who have been there all along. Anyway, boom, there we go. Do that. Huzzah. So yeah, Weezer is my generation's Cheap Trick. That's my theory, and people do not like it. It makes them upset for a couple of reasons. Number one, they have a hard time with how they feel about Weezer, because, like, if you've seen that SNL sketch about Weezer, that pretty much sums up the way a lot of people feel, where they're like, oh, they were the best band ever. And then, they did some things musically that I didn't appreciate. And now I'm very angry at them because I have a sense of entitlement that tells me that, like, Rivers Cuomo owes me a certain type of song. And if he does, like, everybody, basically, it's everyone who is too hung up on Pinkerton, essentially, is still out there going, like, you owe me. Like, and people who are like, yeah, songs from the Black Hole, which was a rock opera that Rivers was purportedly writing that turned into Pinkerton. And guess what? You can hear the demos of that rock opera, and a lot of them are not fantastic. Like, I'm sorry, but they made the better album. Not only did they make the better album, they made an album that invented a genre that was good for, 6-8 years, and then guys with eyeliner found out about it, and then they just crapped all over it. Anyway, sorry, my overstating my case. Like, I think we should all be able to agree on the fact that, Get Up Kids Something to Write Home About is a better album than anything that, Tokyo Screamos, or what are they called? The one where people are like, oh, that chick is hot, and then they're like, it's a guy, and you're like, oh. You know the one from that, is a Tokyo Motel? Something like that? Anyway, and there's also like I don't know the name of these bands. Look, because about the time they started showing up on the Warped Tour, I was like, and this is when I make my graceful exit. And then the Warped Tour didn't last very many years after that. Well, better part of a decade. But eventually people caught wise, is what I'm saying. They were like, oh, this Screamo crap, this is for the birds. This is, we don't need an entire festival where half the bands are wearing girl pants and screaming unintelligibly into the microphone and claiming that it has anything to do with Weezer's Pinkerton. Like, how dare you? How dare you, sir? Madam? No, I'm pretty sure it's sir. Anyway, regardless, how dare you? Anyway, yeah, that's very similar to my theory that people don't like, because they often do not understand what I'm getting at when I say that, like, Randy Travis and Snoop Dogg occupy the same physical space in their respective genres, because they are the laid-back, smooth, old-school voice that also is, like, new school enough to be still doing it. Like, can release an album whenever they want, and people will be like, oh, frick yeah, I'm gonna buy that. And, can guest on anything, and people will be like, oh, he's still going, look at him, But they tie the old school and the new school together. They are both the smoothest voiced versions of their respective genre. Like, it's, they are the same, is what I am getting at. Is that if Snoop Dogg were somehow born as a white man in the South who had an interest in making country music, he would have been Randy Travis. And if Randy Travis to other way round, well, then you see what I'm saying. You don't like it. It's not a fact you're happy with. Doesn't make you feel good about the world, but it is nonetheless true. Oh my God, I keep this when I'm around in this corner especially. Anywho's it's okay. Yeah, there's laundry happening in our house while I'm recording this. That is factually correct. And I'll tell you what, like, if you're saying to me, hey, why don't you record later in the evening when things are quieter and there's, more of a computer room to yourself kind of vibe. Well, it's Sunday. I've got grading and planning to do, so don't come at me. Don't come at me with your demands. I was told there were no promises and no demands. Love is a battlefield. We know this. Some of the bench. We've accepted it. Anyway, regardless. So Weezer's Cheap Trick. Snoop Dogg is Randy Travis. And Travis Tritt is freaking trouble. You stay away from him. That's a terrible joke. And I would be ashamed of it if I had the foresight to know that it was about to happen. But I didn't see it coming. Don't blame me. I am a dad. I'm entitled to say such things. I've got... You know what's funny is that when I'm explaining to people, like, when I say I'm a dad, they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a dad. I've got gray New Balance shoes. I've got a lawnmower, you know? And they're like, wouldn't it be the part where you have children that makes you a dad? And I'm like, no. That makes me a father. Like, children makes me a father. Gray New Balance makes me a dad. Anyway, that's how that works, in case you were wondering. Like, you know, you have a child, then congratulations, you are a father. But you drive a minivan without, you know, any sort of irony or pain in your soul or feeling that, like, somehow you're less of a man or anything of the sort. And yeah, you are now a dad. Congratulations. Yeah, that's the difference. That's how they tell. Anyway. Oh, hello, you dinguses. There's two of you. One of you barely get the... Oh, frick. I just realized how close to death I was just then. I'm really not used to this whole I don't have any armor thing. I could make armor. It's just that I don't wanna make armor yet. I wanna get more iron and such. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, how many... I've still got quite a bit. This thing is gonna be huge. I would say the H on it, but apparently that's not done anymore. You know, as the President of the United States goes, so goes the nation. And you know, old number 45 said, "Hey, you know, words that have an H at the beginning, we don't say that H anymore." Oh, frickety frick frack! That darn near killed me. I need a lot of baked potato to come back from that nonsense. I'm going to take this very cautiously. Like an old person stepping into the shower, you know? It's like, no room for error here. Anyway. Ha-ta. Yes, we have achieved the uppermost bound. Ah, freaking frick-frack. See? You'd think I'd never crafted a mine before. Oh, I can see the village from my humble abode. All right. Well, then. Yes. Boom. Boomity boom. Yeah, it's funny because people get all bent out of shape when they're like, "Hey, have you ever defeated the Ender Dragon in Minecraft?" And you say no. And they're like, "Well, you've been to the end though, right?" And you're like, "No." And they're like, "But you've been to the Nether in the new version, right?" And you're like, "No." And they're like, "Well, then what the frick do you do?" You're like, "Oh, just things that repetitive tasks, you know." Einstein used to work in the patent office. As dumb, repetitive tasks that would let his mind wander. And he came up with some of the greatest scientific ideas mankind has ever known. And he did it while he was, just mindlessly like licking stamps and, uh, things of that nature. Uh, Sorting mail and, opening envelopes and such not. Like just very boring, tedious, mindless work. And he used it because like he could work without thinking too hard about it. And then while he was working, he could get his brain in gear and actually get something done, And there's something very, very comforting about that idea that, like, oh, yes, the world's most brilliant man possibly ever. Certainly one of the top brilliant men of the world, known, like his name has become synonymous with being a brilliant person. He works in the patent office, and it allowed his mind to wander, and he would be like, relativity and such not. And people would later be like, wow, what a stunning realization that was. That he's like, well, I think it's the same thing people talk about, like bathroom thoughts, like, oh, I had this thought while I was in the bathroom. And it's like, of course you did. So, well, any more people don't. It's shower thoughts, because you don't shower with your phone. And that's it. That's it, people. You don't shower with your phone. And so that's the only time of day that your brain has to wander at all. And it wanders, and you're like mystified by the concept, like, my mind wandered. Like, yeah, they'll do that if you leave them the frick alone for half a second, Anyway. So I'll tell you this. Let's enough with the fun already. Okay, so let's talk about this, because no one will be happy with it. No one, not even myself. I'm not happy about it. Think I'm happy about it? No, frick no. Why would I be happy about it? What sort of monster do you think I am that I would be happy about it? Anyway, so I had a best friend for a number of years who, was my childhood best friend. Was my best friend, going into, like, we went away to college together, and we roomed together. While we were at community college, and we were, shared a folder and choir together, because we were in the same choir, and we sat right next to each other and anchored down the bass section, and, we lived together, like, even after that, like, lived together when we went away to university, after we graduated from university, and on into adulthood, until he got married. He got married first, and yeah, and he was, we were just always together all the time, and this life is a sad bit of business sometimes, and you can't avoid how sad life can get. And and so this friend of mine died. I was told that he passed away from COVID. Now there is some, like, what has been put out officially by some members of his family is that he died of complications of pneumonia, which like is how a lot of people with COVID are dying, is complications of pneumonia, unfortunately. So yeah, anyway, the sad part, and you know, it was my parents who told me that he died of COVID. And I don't think my parents are, you know, going to get a fact like that wrong. My parents both had COVID, you know, and they called me up a while ago, a week or two ago, and said, hey, you know, this friend of yours that was such a close friend and a good friend, a person whose family was like a second family to you, has died. And I haven't talked about it on this channel, I don't think, you know, because it's a bit of a weird one. You know, like it's not happy when someone dies, and obviously I become very introspective and contemplative, and you know, you think about life, you think about what this person has meant to you over the course of their life. You know, you think about what this person leaves behind them. You know, what sort of a legacy their life now holds. And yeah, these are things that I think about because I'm a allegedly normal human being. You know, as far as you know, normal as you can get. Anyway, so sorry, there's a little phlegm in my throat, not me being overwhelmed with emotion, which, by the way, is really annoying. That's how everyone assumes that I am right now. There are only two people, no, three people on the face of this earth who actually understand how I feel about this news, that someone who meant so very much to me for so long has died. Now, I didn't go to his funeral. Ha 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 ha. Because why? Because I'm an especially callous person. Because I'm mean. Oh, because I lost my faith in Jesus, and therefore, you know, I'm not the sort of person who'd be caught dead inside a church building, you know, well, whatever. Like, people have their opinions, people have their theories. And quite frankly, the theory that has offended me the most is the one that's like, oh, he's just putting on a brave face, but really inside he's dying. He's dying inside. He doesn't know how quite to feel about all this business. Anyway, and I'll tell you, like, I do know how to feel about this business. This is not the first person that I've lost. Not the first person that I've lost this calendar year, you know, and of a type of person that, you know, has really meant a lot to me through the years. Not the first of this calendar year, you know, is my friend Todd, who died. And it's very sad. It's very sad that he died, but also I'll tell you this, and this is not going to make anybody happy, but I believe that if his politics would have been different, he would still be alive. Oh, that's fun, isn't it? Yeah, just chew on that idea for a second. Because, you know, his first wife, and he, like, they did not have a great relationship. And it, you know, they were married for a bit, long enough to have a couple of kids. And, you know, and then long enough to, you know, fight and have a terrible marriage, and then have that marriage come to an abrupt end. You know, married long enough for one of those. And so yeah, that's what his first marriage was. And I'll tell you this, you know, when I talked to him about his marriage, I told him, I was like, man, I'm sorry that happened to you. You know, that's a terrible thing. You don't want, like, nobody gets married expecting divorce. You know, you get married because you think you're going to go the distance. Like everybody, you know, half of marriages end in divorce, but of those people who end in divorce, like the vast majority of them have to go into it thinking like, no, we're going to try and make this last. Very few people are going to be like, oh, I hope I get half of this guy's stuff when, like I put more faith in humanity than that. Not all people do, but I certainly do. And anyway, uh so yeah, his first marriage sorry. Hold up. Let me get some water. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Are we dead? No, we're not dead. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I remember after his first marriage ended, and this is a guy who really did not want to be like his dad. His dad was a real piece of work. His dad was a psychologist who was for a short time my psychologist when I was a kid and was having troubles. And my parents took me in because they're like, we don't know what the frick to do with this kid. What's wrong with this kid? And, he was actually helpful. And, through that, like, but prior to his dad becoming my psychologist, like, Todd and I, we knew each other, but we weren't like the closest of friends. But we became close friends through that, because I think it may have even been a case where his dad may have been like, hey, you know who needs a friend? This friggin' kid who's in my office. He's all messed up in the head. Anyway, but yeah, so Todd and I became friends. We were friends for a number of years, basically inseparable. But yeah, his dad, like his parents, his mother was the sweetest woman in the world, like the kindest, most kind-hearted, nicest, best person in the world. And her mother, and I actually knew her mother because I lived with her. She had a house near ASU, which is where I went to university. And yeah, she had a house in around that area, which is insanely expensive now. But at the time when she bought it was not that bad because it, wasn't considered that close to ASU. You know how, yeah. Anyway, time and efficiency of motor vehicles and whatnot. She was an old woman when I knew her and lived in her house and constantly felt like a burden and like I needed to get out of there because she was no big fan of mine. Like, she did not like me at all. She was accused me of creeping up on her, but that was because her eyesight was so bad she couldn't see me until she was about running into me. And, and then she'd scream and I'd be like, I'm sorry. This is a terrible state of affairs. Like, I spent as little time in that house as I could. And it was, a really good encouragement for me to find my own housing for the first time. Anyway, so yeah, Todd and I found an apartment. We lived together. We lived together until he was married. Now, he didn't want to be like his dad. His dad would eventually get divorced from his mom, which everybody was like, oh, it's his dad's fault. He screwed that up because his mom, as everybody knew, was the sweetest and kindest woman in the world. And so everybody knew that it was his dad's fault for screwing up that marriage. And no one blamed her because why would you? None of us could imagine a circumstance under which she would have any blame whatsoever. And we were right, by the way. We were absolutely dead on, right on the money on that one. Anyway, so, yeah. His father got divorced. from his mother, and then immediately married his secretary. And everybody was like, you know. And even as I tell you that, you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I see what's going on. Yeah, we all saw what was going on. And so, anyway, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so, but, oh, let me tell you this fun little detail. So, his grandmother, Todd's grandmother, his maternal grandmother, his mom's mom, the one that I lived with, the mean old lady. She's so racist too. Like one time we were watching an episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on her terrible like old CRT television, and she walks into the room and is like, What kind of people are those? She asks her grandson, and he says, they're black people, Grandma. And she wrestled the remote out of his hand and turned off the television and walked out of the room, leaving no question in our minds as to whether or not we were allowed to watch television shows starring black people in her home on her television. Yeah, like, it was the Fresh Prince. It's Will Smith. It's young Will Smith before he made a string of terrible movies that made us all kind of like him a little bit less. Anyway, this is back when he's flying high. He'd all sing his theme song and be like, yeah, this is going to run for 1,000,000 years. I don't care. Change Aunt Viv for a different actress. We don't care. Like, we'll still watch it. Anyway, yeah. So she was too racist to have Fresh Prince playing in her home. Oh, sorry, other player. It's going to take me a second to get to my bed. Give me a sec. Anyway, so yes, vile woman that she was, racist, problematic, hateful, bitter, spiteful, and she lived for freaking ever. Careful. This is where I keep my bottle caps. Anyway.
Oh yeah, the bottle cap trash can.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, so yeah, deeply spiteful, mean old woman. And anyway, so apparently on the night that Todd's parents were about to get married, Todd's maternal grandmother and his father got into an argument about who would be the boss of Todd's mother. Because a married woman needs a boss to tell her what to do. And apparently, at least that's the way they felt about it. So... yeah. So they had this angry debate as to who the real boss in this relationship was, and they couldn't agree, and so they finally agreed on the proposition that my friend Todd's mother was going to have to get used to having two bosses because neither of them would relent. This is an actual thing that actually happened in the life of the sweetest woman anyone has ever known. Anyway, by the way, here's a fun fact. Todd's mother would eventually go on to remarry a man who just, worshipped the ground she walked on and believed that she was the sweetest, nicest woman in the entire world. And he was right. And we were glad that he came along, quite frankly, because we're all sitting there like it's about freaking time somebody noticed, And yeah, that's how we felt about it. Anyway, so yeah, his father, who thought that his mother ought to have two bosses, and then his father immediately went and married the old secretary, that kind of nonsense. It really, I'd say it makes you think, except it really doesn't, you know. Doesn't make you think, it makes you immediately know. Um, and it was such a divisive thing that even um, Todd's older sister, the one comes from a very large family, but the sister who was, just older than him, a couple years older than us in high school, uh, but still part of our group of friends, or more accurately, we joined her group of friends, as we were a couple of doofus freshmen. Anyway, so she tried to take her father's side in the divorce because she was, as always, a daddy's girl, and tried to take her father's side, and her father made that position untenable. Like, just went out of his way to make it impossible to agree with him on anything. Um, until she was like, you know what? I think my siblings are right. You're a real piece of crap, and I wish I didn't have to deal with you. And yeah, which is the appropriate way to feel right there. Anyway, so my friend Todd very much did not want to be like his father. But the sad thing was that, like, Kay, his first wife, not a perfect woman by any stretch of the imagination, but, a decent person, as far as I could tell. I knew her. She actually worked in the library system where I used to work. She worked in a different library, but we knew each other. We were, technically work colleagues. We would see each other at the bigger meetings and whatnot. So, this is someone that I knew casually, an acquaintance of sorts, and I never had any reason. I mean, the people there at the library loved her, and I had no reason whatsoever to think ill of her at all. Anyway, well, the fun part is that when I was speaking with my friend after his divorce, he revealed to me that there came a point in the deterioration of his marriage where he had hit his wife, and I was, in my brain went, oh no, this is terrible. We can't allow this at all. This is not the sort of thing that we're on board with. Nope, nope, nope. Ixnay on the, Ifeway Eat Bay. No to the wife beating. We're not supportive of this as a concept. And anyway, quite frankly, I didn't say it at the time, but it rather reminded me of something that his father would do. And and I'm not saying that he was that my friend was a frequent wife beater. He hit his the woman who then became his ex-wife. He hit her one time, but you hit a woman one time and you lose visitation rights with your kids and stuff. Like, there are grave legal consequences to such actions, and indeed there were. And it was really rough for him that he had children that he almost never got to see. Children that he loved and cared about. And wanted to be there for, but couldn't. Sorry, I keep getting things stuck in my throat. I would tell you if this was coming as a result of emotion. It's actually not. Anyway, so yeah. So my friend hit his wife once, and I lost a lot of respect for him. And and I told him, I said, hey, you should not get remarried for a while. I said, look, and I know that the dating market for divorcees, that ain't going anywhere. Like it'll be the same people will be there years from now that are there now. So you don't need to lose any sleep over like, oh, am I going to miss out on the good divorcees, and possibly widows? Like, am I going to miss the good ones if I don't, hit the dating pool right away? Nope, you're not. It's going to be essentially the same people. Oh, geez, why did I don't know why that happened. Anyway, I do. I accidentally hit the wrong key. Anyway, so I told him, yeah, hey, just take it easy. Just improve yourself. Learn to be happy with yourself and good to yourself. And then you'll be able to be good to somebody else. I give him this advice. And he seemed to take it to heart. And then 6 months later, he was getting married again. And I'm like, wait, the part where I said, don't get married for a while, work on yourself, I doubt very much that you were able to solve what needed to be solved in that length of time. I'm sorry. I know that that it makes me look like a real jerk for for implying that perhaps you are not where you should be emotionally for in order to be getting married again. Sorry for that implication. We both know that it's kind of true. but yeah, that's how I felt about it. But he got married a second time. He had another kid with his second wife, and and then named that child after his dead younger brother. He had a younger brother who died tragically young in a car accident. And so he named this child after his dead younger brother. And then immediately got divorced from that woman. I think the ink was drying on the divorce when she had the child, and he named it after his now dead brother, which is unfortunate for a number of reasons that immediately come to everyone's mind when you think about that scenario. Because I don't know if he has any visitation rights with that child at all, or had, I should say, because we're not talking about someone who is still alive and well, unfortunately. But yeah. So, oh, and by the way, like, his dad, still alive, still kicking, his mother died after less than a decade of being married to the only man in her life to ever appreciate her properly. And so, I went to that funeral. You bet I did. Because that woman was like a second mother to me, and I was still on very good terms with my friend. And, I wasn't there for any other member of the family. And it begs the question as to why we even go to funerals in the first place. And I know that even asking the question is something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Like, oh, why wouldn't you go? Well, why would you? Oh, there we go. I'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, so yeah, his mother is now dead, and that was, all very sad, and especially so because it meant that everyone, rekindled their relationship with their father, who was a real piece of work and not, in any way worthy of their sympathies, but who got their sympathies because he just so happened to be the one that was still alive. And that's not how that should go, but that's how it went. Oh my goodness, I hate it when there's tall grass nearby and you're trying to kill a creeper. Anyway, so yeah, people rekindled their relationship with their father, which was, in my mind, unfortunate, because, I don't think they would have done that if their mother hadn't died. Anyway, and also, their father, according to what I've been told, married a woman who refused to take any of his crap and said, if you treat me the way you treated others, I am out. Which, why would you get married in the first place, honestly? But apparently he's been, a reasonable person, reasonable person to be married to for the last several years. I don't know. I haven't been married to him. I can't vouch for the guy. Wouldn't want to, even if anyway, regardless. Let's just move on, shall we? Fact is, ladies and gentlemen, if I run through the members of this family, there is an oldest brother who I know but don't know him very well. There are two older sisters who I know but don't know very well. And here we go. There is an older brother who stole money from his mother, and I don't ever have to forgive him for that. I think it was a terrible thing, and quite frankly, I don't think anyone should ever stop hating him for it. So that's a thing. There is the sister just older than my friend Todd, who I used to be on really good terms with. Obviously, we were friends in high school, but I haven't seen her in, I haven't seen her since she graduated high school, so that's been the long frick time. So, there's, and then there's my friend, and then his younger brother, not the one who died, the one who is still alive. We went to the same college. Like, his younger brother was there too, and we were, reasonably close. Not like we're not close, but I haven't really spoken to him in 20 years. Time happens, and people drift apart, even though you used to be the best of friends. And it's not like I bear any of these people any ill will, except for the brother who stole from their mom. He can, go die in a pit for all I care. Anyway, but, yeah, the thing is that, 36, there we go. And, yeah, I don't really bear any ill will toward any of them, but, like, my presence is not needed at this funeral, because the one person that I would have wanted to see at this funeral would be his mother. If his mother were there, I would want to give her a big hug and tell her that I'm sorry that her son has died. Only person I'd want to see. Don't want to see his dad. Don't really need to see any of those siblings of his that we were, acquainted, friendly. and even those that we were, even pretty close friends, but haven't spoken in years. The understanding, the knowledge between all of us is that, he was my friend first. I was his friend. They were ancillary. They were there while we were friends. Like, that's not a knock on any of them, but it is to say that, uh, you know, we, there's a whole George and Elaine situation. If you get that reference, then good. It explains it more succinctly than I could. Yeah, so to go to his funeral, first of all, would be kind of a pain in the neck, because, I've needed this weekend so badly for so many reasons. And also, like, it makes me wonder why. Why I need to go to this funeral. Why so many people are like, hey, you really should go for. Okay. Um, and it's not, I'm not unfeeling. I'm not uncaring. I'm not, some sort of robot man. I do have feelings and emotions, and I do care about my friend. It is sad that he's gone. And what's sadder still is the fact that, okay, this is going to sound ridiculous. And quite frankly, I don't go into it, but I will. I will, because I feel like I want to say it, I want to have it said, and then not have to talk about it again. But his first wife got him to vote for Obama. True story. He was very excited when he told me, like, guess who I voted for? I voted for Obama. Now, that year, I voted for Obama as well. It was all the rage. Everybody was doing it. And, people were very excited. The concept, if you had seen the way that Obama was marketed, my God, it doesn't matter where your politics lie, you probably would have jumped on board as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unless, depending on the news channel that you watch. Anyway, because there's one of them that didn't really like him. Go ahead and guess which one it was. Anyway, so boom, there we go. There it is. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, like, his first wife got him to vote for Obama, and then his first marriage ended terribly. They had a terrible time on it. Yeah, his and he was left very embittered by the way that relationship ended. And and obviously I understand that. Like, I don't think it's unreasonable from his point of view. And even, like, if you want to feel less bad about him, know this, like, the whole incident with him hitting his wife, like, she was hitting him, and he kept saying, don't hit me, I'm going to hit you back. And she's like, you can't. And then he did, which is a terrible choice. We all know it. Doesn't make it any better, and doesn't, I don't think, makes it any better that that his wife was hitting him. I still think the entire thing stinks. But you can feel however you want about it. Anyway, that's the woman, the one that he hit that one time, is the one who got him to vote for Obama. And to the surprise of no one, after the divorce, his politics swung back hard to the right. And you feel about that information any which way you want. You could say, well, he's just doing it to spite his wife. You could say, well, he found his natural place in the world. Feel about it however you want. But here's some facts that you gotta come to grips with. Is that needlessly and pointlessly and stupidly and wastefully, old number 45, our most dingus president that we've ever had in the history of this country, decided that it would be a good idea to turn a pandemic. Oh my God, return to sender. I don't even know what that is. But yeah. So, yeah. Old number 45 and his, feeble brain decided that it would be a good idea to take this pandemic that we're all suffering through together, and instead of having us unify under a single banner, how about instead we just continue with the one thing that he's good at, which is to divide people up, make all the us's know that they're us's, and make all of the thems know that they're thems, and draw that line sharp, make sure that everybody knows who fits in and who doesn't. And so masking became a thing. We were supposed to wear masks. And granted, I've been out of contact with this friend of mine who had meant so very much to me for so very many years. I've been out of contact with him for good 15 years. And during that time, like, he married the one woman with whom he had a son that he named after his dead brother. Then they divorced. And I think he got married one more time after that, before finally ending up with the wife that he was married to when he died. Now, it gives me no pleasure whatsoever to not only strongly imply, but to state outright that if his politics had been different, he would be alive. Because he died of COVID. And he didn't have the mitigating circumstances that a lot of people who die of COVID have. He didn't. What he had was, a terminal case of following a man who didn't care whether people like him lived or died. And that's sad. And you can feel about it however you want. You can, lob angry epithets at me if you like. But the fact remains that I lost a friend to his politics. Now, granted, I kind of lost him a long time before then. Our lives diverged in many ways. We were both raised in the same faith, a faith that I would later leave. And of course, 1, 2, 3, we never talked about that while he was alive. We never talked about that. Never had that conversation. Should have. Never did. And so I don't know how he felt about me in his later years. The fact that he stayed in, I'll tell you this, the religion that I was raised in, does not take kindly to people who leave it. There are religions where, you just don't show up for a month, and they're like, well, I guess you're not with us anymore. And they just, take the back end of a pencil to your name and just say, well, you come back if you ever want to, but for now, no. That's, I guess you're not one of us. And then there are the ones that are like, hey, if you leave us, you don't get to keep your dignity. And worse yet, and this ties in with the whole thing, not only do you not get to keep your dignity, but you do not get to have your own story. We will tell the story. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will tell the story about why you left, you don't get to tell that story. We don't want to hear what you have to say about it. And they really don't. They really and truly don't. That was one of the hard things to learn, is that people really don't want to hear the reasons why you left. They have no interest in that in hearing your story. Because the problem is that if they acknowledged as real your reasons for leaving, then they would have no reason for them to stay in, you know? Like, and always, people, be suspicious, be wildly suspicious of any belief system that requires you to be on board. You know what I'm saying? Like, any belief system where they'll be like, here's what we believe, and you say no, and they say, oh, you're not allowed to say no. You have to say yes, otherwise this whole thing falls apart for us. So please say yes. We're going to pressure you and make you feel bad if you don't. Anyway, yeah, any type of belief system that comes at you like that, be suspicious of it. It is definitely a man-made construct, and it's probably one that is doing great harm to untold numbers of people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least that's what I believe, and that's my experience. So feel about it however you like. Anyway, so yeah. You know, my lovely wife was good enough to point out, you know, because I was feeling bad when he died. You know, nobody wants to lose someone like that. And to lose him to COVID when he could have gotten a shot for free that would have made it to where, you know, because you get the shot, and guess what? All of a sudden, you are significantly less likely to need hospitalization if you get the disease that you've been immunized against. Magic, you know? It's an amazing turn of events. Oh. There's some guy. Ooh, I've got armor now. I can kill these fools. Wait. Don't you dare go into the village. Come here, stupid. I've been worried about my proximity to the village here. Anyway, because I don't want to cause an event. I don't want to raise a ruckus. Yeah. Anyway, so, fact is, ladies and gents, it is very sad. It's very sad for a number of reasons. But, you know, what is very sad is what people have been saying about it. You know, they've been saying, oh, about me, they've been saying like, oh, he's putting on a brave face, but really he's dying inside. Because you're not allowed, in the religion I was raised in, you're not allowed to not feel how they tell you that you feel. Like, and I know that sounds ridiculous, and even, you know, people inside that religion would be like, that's not the way that it is. Oh, but it is. It really is. Like, they are very dictatorial about, like, no, this is the way that you feel. Like, and this is the only way that it is proper to feel right now. And you're like, but what if I don't feel that way? And they're like, nope, that we're telling you how you feel. Like, we're not asking, we are telling. Anyway, ladies and gents, so yeah, lost a friend to COVID who could have saved his own life with a simple inoculation, a technology that has been around for longer than America has been a country. So, you know, that's a really terrible thing to contemplate, that I lost someone so needlessly, you know. And the fact that we weren't close at the end, yeah, that's sad. I mean, that happens to a number of people. Like, I didn't invent the concept of, you know, people drifting apart over time. I've been a victim to it many times over with many of my closest friends. It's just the way it goes sometimes. But the fact that I lost someone who could have just as easily been saved is very sad. Very sad indeed. And, I don't have to feel about it the way that anybody tells me to feel about it. Let's get 2 gates there. And quite frankly, I'm at liberty to express my feelings however I wish, which I'm doing right now, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, 'tis what 'tis. But I didn't go to his funeral. And I know that bothers people. And it bothers people because I don't think a lot of people have considered the possibility that you don't have to always go to the funeral. Like, I know that sounds callous and unfeeling, but, like, I'm sorry, like, you don't. It's, it's a funeral. It's an arbitrary ritual that we have. It's not like being there for your own birth. Like, you don't have a choice. You got to be there for your own birth. Like, by definition, if you're not there for your own birth, then, that's really says something about your state of being alive or not. This is going to be a very small pen. Anyway, regardless, I'm going to go back inside the mine because mobs are starting to spawn. I also think I have a lead down here, or several, possibly. Oh, this kitty. This kitty is soft. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to go to the funeral. And why? Well, his little brother is probably the person I'm closest to out of everybody, out of all the family members there. And haven't seen him in, since 2002, I want to say. Yeah. So this is getting close to 20 years. And, and he's the one that I'm closest to of the, remaining living siblings. So, yeah, if he's the one I'm closest to, my voice keeps, sorry. This is good audio, good stuff.
So, who do you think is bothered by the fact that you didn't?
Oh, that's a good question. Who do I think is bothered by it? My family, my parents. My parents told everybody that I put on a brave face, but that I'm actually dying inside. No, my voice is dying. Jeez. It sounds like I'm really emotional. I just can't hold it back. That's what I sound like when I cry. It's me constipated and me crying. You can't tell one from the other. Anyway, but no, for real. I know because I've spoken with siblings who've told me that, like, hey, this is what it is. This is how this has gone, is that, everybody knows and understands. Ooh, and I'm looking at the clock. I'm going to need to get on a call with my family. We have our family Zoom meeting here in a few. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up quick. But yeah, people have been telling each other that I'm so, like, beaten up over this whole thing and that I won't talk to anybody about it. And yet, the two people who are not here with me in this household, like, my wife understands. She understands perfectly. And, like, yeah, I've gotten multiple text messages from multiple siblings who, I think my sister Lynette, apparently Lynette's taken it harder than I have, but not according to what my parents have said. My sister Kimberly texted me. She texted me multiple times today about it. So, she gave me a link to the, streaming of the thing. And it's like, I mean, look, let me just absolve everyone. Like, honest to God, when I die, I will have, like, if all goes according to plan, then I will have lost my ability to care about who is at my funeral and who is not. If I have the ability to look down from above, or likely as not, and be prepared to report me to the principal's office for this nonsense, like look up from below, because of that hell that I'm going to go to. Such an evil thing to say. Anyway, regardless. But yeah, like, if I have the ability to look in on my own funeral after my death, just know that no one will be more disappointed than me. Like, the most upset person there will be me. Because I'll be like, I thought this was going to be the freaking end. I didn't think I was going to have to put up with this whole continued consciousness. It just goes on forever. Oh, this ought to be great. Forever of this. Like, ugh. Barely tolerate it when I was alive. And now I'm just, constantly forever this. Like, nope. No, thank you. I mean, look, I have a good life. I love the people that I've built my life around. They mean the absolute world to me. But, like, I myself understand that, like, there's a limit. There is a limit. Like, okay, I always say this. You're 3,000,000,001 of your existence. What are you going to do? You're going to wake up. You're going to spring up out of bed. Can't wait for what you're going to do on year 3,000,000,001, the first day, January 1st, year 3,000,000,001 of your own existence. You're going to be excited for what you're going to do that day. Really. Because if you think that that's possible, then I submit the following to you. You haven't thought about it enough. You haven't. Them's the facts. Anyway, people, I need to close this out. I really do. Look, fact is, I think I'm, godless heathen that I am. I'm more fine with death than any member of my family. I really, truly believe that to be the case. And I'm sorry if people feel otherwise. But I talk about it more. I confront it more often. I confront it more realistically, I would argue. And, you feel about that however you like. But I'm telling you, people, like, I didn't go to the funeral because, like, the one person I would have wanted to see, his mother, is no longer alive. And so, because of that, why would I go? You go to a funeral for a few different reasons. You go to see the person's face for the last time. No interest. I have a lot of pictures of my friend, of him in better times. And quite frankly, I find the human taxidermy that we do before we bury someone, I find it off-putting and weird. And I think it's terrible that, we take advantage of the grieving to, take advantage of the grieving to taxidermy their recently deceased beloved family members as if it's going to make a difference. It is not. You are still going to rot in a hole in the ground. And it's terrible to think about, but it's nonetheless true. You causing all this ruckus. Frick, you're tiny. Anyway. Yeah. People are going to go rot in a hole in the ground, and you've got no way of escaping it unless you choose the better way to be cremated. Oh, yeah, then you're not wasting space. You know, send a little carbon up into the atmosphere, but not so much that it wouldn't be worse than half of the things you did with your life, you know, driving a car, etc., ever being on an airplane, etc., you know. So, yeah, not too bad environmental impact wise. And quite frankly, rather than, you know, using up the earth's fresh water to sprinkle the grass on your, to, you know, use water to keep the grass on your freaking grave alive, which is as wasteful a thing as you could do. I mean, it's almost as wasteful as building a golf course. Anyway, yeah. So I don't need to go see my friend's face all weirdly plasticky and taxidermy and wearing thick makeup. Like, I don't need to remember him that way, you know? So what else would I be going to do? Going to mourn? No. I can mourn by myself. Thank you very much. And quite frankly, like, I have mourned the loss of his friendship before he even died. And as my lovely wife pointed out, like, he could have I haven't spoken to him in 15 years. And he could have reached out to me. Well, no, it's not 15 years. It's more like 10 years. I've spoken to him in 10 years. And he could have reached out to me just as easily as I could have reached out to him. I feel bad for not having reached out to him in the last 10 years of his life. But he had a phone. He had my number. You know? We both had each other on that worthless piece of crap app, Facebook. And, yeah, either one of us could have hit the other one up and said, hey, let's, you know, keep this friendship thing going. I still value you. You still played an important role in my life, and I don't want to forget that. You know, we could have done that. We didn't. We didn't. And sad that we didn't, but we didn't. Anyway, so feel about it however you wish. I didn't go to his funeral because I don't need to be there to mourn him. I don't need to comfort family members that I haven't seen in 20 years or more. You know, I don't need to be there to do any of the things that I need to do. I don't. And does it pain me to come to that realization? Sure. And does it make me think that that, you know, somehow it's going to be like that for me? I'm going to die someday, and then, you know, people aren't going to come to my funeral. If it goes well, I won't notice the difference because this life will have ceased for me. And anyone who is going to miss me can express that publicly, privately, or not at all. And it won't matter to me because I'll be the one who is dead. You know, like, hopefully that's the way it goes. I have no reason to believe that it's not. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, yeah. So, anyway, yeah, I've got to go. I got to go get on that family call. Anyway, people, I hope you have a lovely time. Like, look, life gets complicated. When you're a kid, everything is very simple. You know, you meet someone who has the same first name as you, and suddenly you're best friends. I was best friends with a kid for a while we had the same first name. And over time, when such things became important, we realized that we had nothing in common. Because he was a cholo, and I, one of the whitest people alive. You know what? I still love cholos, like 100%, big fan. But like he couldn't maintain his friendship with me and be remotely cool, and so that was a problem. And so that ended. But yeah, when you're a kid, nothing is complicated. When you're an adult, everything is. You try and explain why, you freaking can't. It just is more complicated. So yeah, this is more complicated. And I'm sorry that it is. Anyway, hopefully my friend has ceased to exist and is beyond all suffering and pain or the ability to care that I was there or not. That's if it's gone well. If it's gone poorly, then he can be bitter about it. But like, for all he knows, he's going to heaven and I'm going to hell. So that kudos to him, like he chose the better way. So meh, I'm the godless heathen who's, going to be staring up. I'm going to be like, the rich man and Lazarus. I'm going to be the rich man and he's going to be Lazarus gathered up to Abraham's bosom. I'm going to be there like, oh, please, could you just dip your finger in the cool water and just let me feel a droplet of water on my tongue? And he's going to be like, nah, bro, you should have decided that in spite of all of the things that don't make sense in the religion that we were raised in, that it's really, really true and truly true. Should have realized that, you dummy. You go thinking about it for. Shouldn't have gone thinking about it. You left a good thing behind, and now you're going to burn in hell forever. And you know what? If that's the system that's been set up, I'll burn in hell forever. It's fine. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, definitely report me to the principal's office because burning in hell forever is the kind of thing that gets you in trouble in school. Anyway, have a great one. I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.